Hi everyone, it's Wanda with the Armchair Cat Advocate, and I decided that I would go live and talk to everyone about Jack rather than just do another pre-recorded video. Um, I wanted to do this because hang on, I have something on my screen here that's bothering me. My screen's dirty. I should have wiped that before I started. Anyway, I wanted to come in here and talk a little bit about Jack and what's happening with Jack and let everyone know the realities of the situation. I don't want to alarm anyone, but I also want people to understand that we don't know what's happening with him. And tomorrow he has a vet appointment. So hopefully that'll be a good outcome and we're going to keep our fingers crossed. But I just heard from Kayla a little while ago. I texted her to let her know that everyone's been so appreciative of her and what she's doing, and Feline Solutions, really, because Feline Solutions, if it wasn't for the founder, Carol Molina, saying, okay, let's try to help Jack, this wouldn't be happening. So what I want to just read everyone the text that Kayla sent me about Jack and what's happening with him. I let her know that everyone's really appreciative of what she's doing. And she says, tell everyone that she appreciates, what you're saying about her and the nice things that you're saying about her. And this is what she said. So she said, unfortunately, this afternoon, he's doing worse again, Jack. Mucus is back up, eyes are now weepy, fluids are soaking in faster, and his temp's a bit low. He's still stable and rolling around for belly rubs and cuddles, but definitely still not in the clear. I'm glad Dr. Rick is able to see him tomorrow. He is one of the vets I trust the most. I trust him enough that if he ever went into people instead of animals, I'd go to him myself. LOL. So, and I do believe that Tiana, who is a manager on this channel, I think that is the vet practice that she goes to, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure that she goes to that and had high things to say, had high praise for the vets there. So I am kind of familiar with the vets that she's talking about. So I'm hoping that all of that pans out and we get a good prognosis tomorrow and a solid treatment plan, and we can move forward from that. Here's the thing that I want to talk to people about, though. This has been going on for a very long time. Jack came, he showed up around the colony back in fall of 23. He showed up around Halloween, towards the end of October. That's why he's named Jack, because with his little tuxedo, I had just, every year I watch The Nightmare Before Christmas, and I had just watched that, and I'm like, Jack Skellington. So that's where he got his name. And I just thought he was a cool little dude then. He didn't want to come anywhere near me. He would just he was very shy, and he hid under cars or off to the side and just didn't really want to be involved with me at all. So that was like, I don't know, a couple of weeks, I guess it took for him to start to approach. And what I would do is he would come into the courtyard. So I would bring him food. I would bring him a plate of food and put it down and then step back. And then little by little, he started to come near me. But he was always really apprehensive when I would touch him. And that's when the couple of times that he struck out at me. And quite honestly, he did. He scared me because I didn't understand. And one of the other things I want to talk about today too is when you're doing rescue, and this is coming from someone who I don't really consider myself as someone who does rescue. I consider myself someone who helps with it, because the true rescuers are people like Kayla and Carol, and there's this whole lot of others that have done this much longer than I have, that really know what they're doing. I mean, I've been around animals pretty much all my life. I grew up around animals. We had a great, I lived in a rural area. We lived basically out in a woodland area. We were isolated, and we had a country vet. We had a vet that actually would come out to your house and look at livestock. I mean, we didn't, I had goats as a kid. Yeah, no pun intended. But we didn't have like horses, cows, things like that. But he would come out for livestock, and he was basically a country vet, and I really liked him, and he was just a great guy. And I learned a lot from him, and he was willing. I mean, at one time I thought about being a vet, but vet school was very, very, at least back then, I don't know how it is now, but back then it was very competitive, and it was harder to get into vet school than it was to get into medical school. That's how hard it was. And you couple that with, I did not come from a wealthy family, didn't have the money, scholarships were hard to get. It's not that I wasn't smart enough to do it. It's just that there was a lot of barriers. So that never really worked out. Then I did actually end up getting a veterinary assistant certificate. Never really did anything with it, but it was personal knowledge that helped. Thought about doing the vet tech thing, but again, that was a lot. So just always just kind of did things. Yeah, I was able to take care of my animals and still research things and learned things, and was always interested in that, but just never pursued it professionally. But I do know that there are a lot of people out there that do rescue, and they're legitimate rescuers, and they put in the hours, and it is a lot of hard work. So the thing that I want to talk about a little bit is knowing your limits when you're rescuing, because I think Jack is an excellent example here of a situation that could have been handled much better. And it wasn't handled well. And there's numerous reasons why it wasn't handled well. One of the things that we have in our area is we have an SPCA that now has policy in place where they will not take in strays. So when you have a cat like Jack that is obviously a stray, obviously had a home at one point, has some kind of health issue, there's no place to take them. There's just none. And if you aren't equipped to do it yourself, or you're not lucky enough to find a Feline Solutions or another rescue, and a lot of the rescues are so overwhelmed that they just won't, they can't. I mean, they just can't take in cats that are not going to be adoptable. I have probably in the last 3 years, well, since 2020, I don't know how many cats I have. I mean, 2020, we got a lot. And I mean by we, I mean myself, Tiana, my friend Susan, some of the different rescue groups that helped me. We got a lot of kittens off of the street and a couple of stray cats, and successfully found homes for them. That was amazing. I mean, I think it averaged around, I think that year, I actually have it written down somewhere because I was keeping track. It was something like between 26, 30 cats / kittens that we got off the street. And I remember my neighbor, when talking to my former neighbor, he's not here anymore. But it said something about getting, the cats off the street. And he was like, well, that's not a lot. Well, it's more than you got, isn't it? It's more than you did. You didn't do shit. You just, you know, you went out and bought a car for $600 a month and drive it to Walmart every day and buy shit and come back. So I don't think you should be saying anything about how many cats I got off the street. It's people like that really annoy me. They really truly annoy me. They don't want to do anything. They want to complain. They want to just kind of brush everything off. They don't realize how hard it is to do this work. I mean, it is work. It's unpaid for the most part. I mean, for most people. For most people, this is not paid. This is volunteer. This is on people's own time and on their own dime. They're not doing this because they're going to get a lot of compensation. They're doing it because they care, and they're trying to help the cats. They're trying to help their community. They're trying to help the people that are caring for the cats or that are managing colonies. So it's very, very frustrating when you don't have the resources available to help these cats. And, part of that is, like, at least in my area, it comes from the York SPCA, the lack of help that they give, because, as I said, they have this policy, and the policy is in because they are now partnered with Best Friends Animal Society. Best Friends Animal Society gives them a lot of money. The director of the York SPCA, I'm trying to remember, it is a lot of money. It was like almost, I think, $200,000 a year that he was getting, somewhere in that vicinity, to run the shelter. And in most of our opinions, he's not even doing that very well. And there are cats that are on the street that need help, and people that are trying to help the cats that need help, and nobody's getting the help that they need. And this is really where it's a failing on so many levels. Jack should have had help before this. Like I said, when he first showed up, he wasn't in bad shape that I remember. I don't remember him being sick. He looked like a good weight. I think he probably had just been either dumped or I don't know what happened. I mean, I don't know that he was actually dumped. I don't know if he just got out and he got lost. There's all kinds of scenarios. There's all kinds of reasons why an animal ends up on the streets. It's not always about the person was irresponsible or cruel and just put the cat out. Sometimes the cats do get lost and the person tries to find the cat and they just can't. Especially if they're not microchipped, it's like searching for a needle in a haystack. And it's easy for the cats to get lost too, because if something happens, I mean, look at 4th of July. A lot of pets go missing on 4th of July because of all the fireworks. It scares them. They run, then they're looking around and going, oh, geez, I don't know where I am. So there's all kinds of scenarios. But however it happened, and he was on the streets. And initially, he was not in that bad of a shape. He looked fine. And he stayed around, I want to say, he was there until, he stuck around for a while. And then who was I going to talk to? I think I was talking to Susan about getting him neutered to be part of the colony, because I just thought he was a stray. And I wasn't really working with any rescue groups there. I think I had Feline Solutions had taken a cat from me like the year before, I believe. Yeah. And the year before that, I had a beautiful gray, looked like a Russian blue. He looked like a Russian blue. There was a beautiful gray cat that had actually been wandering around for months, and I thought he wasn't. And that's another thing. A lot of these cats, you don't know if they're owned or not because people let their cats out and they don't have like collars on them or any kind of marking that you know that this cat's owned. They just let them wander around. Or they're outdoor cats like Nika was. They're they're quote unquote owned. I don't know. That's use that term very loosely in that case, but that cat was out 24/7. And if you didn't see her sleeping on their doorstep or in their backyard or see any of them talking to her or anything like that, you would know that she was that she was quote unquote owned. So, that's another issue. You don't want to really, I know there are different thoughts about that too, but if that is somebody's pet, again, you can't always assume because hey, Rogue got out. He was on the balcony. I had a situation. I had actually a couple of times where he was on the balcony. He was laying there sunning himself. Something scared. That's why he's not allowed outside anymore during the day because he got scared and he ran off and he was gone for like a day into night. And I'm walking around desperately looking for him, hoping that I don't see him lying lifeless along the side of the road. And after he did that like 2-3 times to me, I'm like, no, you're not going. No, if you can't just lay on that balcony, if you're going to be scared whenever somebody comes up the steps and you're going to run, I'm not going to let you out because I don't want to chance something happening to you. So now he's only allowed to go outside at night, and I make sure that he's always where he needs to be. If I look out and he's not around, then I go get him and I bring him in. So, I can understand that sometimes people do have cats that like to go in and out, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad pet owner, or that the animals, got lost or anything like that. So that complicates things because you don't know. You don't know if this is an owned cat. You don't know if this cat is a legitimate stray, if it's lost, if it was abused, if it was thrown. You don't know. That's the problem. And so for Jack, when he was here for a couple of weeks and then he disappeared. And when he disappeared, I tried to find him. And I did find him at one point. I was coming back from the grocery store. I was coming around the front of the building. And I saw him sitting on the street corner. And I thought that was him. And so I stopped the car and I said, Jack. And he looked at me and he's like, that's Jack. So I couldn't, because it's a one-way street, I couldn't just stop in the middle of the street and go try to see what's going on with him. So I went around back and I parked in our lot, and then I went around the front of the building. By that time he was gone. And I didn't see him then for I don't know how long it was. And then I talked to actually I had talked to Kayla about Jack. I talked to Kayla about Jack back last year when I had was taking Valentino up to her. And she said the problem is that you have to be able to keep him in because he has to be treated. And you have to keep him confined so we can treat him. That's the issue. And there wasn't any, I had Valentino. So for that person, Valentino's mom, the one who liked to talk shit about me and how horribly I treated Jack, it was because of your cat that I couldn't bring him in at that point. Just think about that. So, I couldn't bring him in. I didn't have the space for that. I didn't have a place to isolate. So Jack had to stay out. And I did what I could for him. Hey. Oh, cat mama. It's just like one thing after another with you, isn't it? Oh, that stinks. I had a broken tooth. No, this was several years ago. That's the worst. That's the worst. It's expensive too. Bless your heart. So I'm just talking. I mean, this was just kind of impromptu, cat mama, because I was going to do a recorded video and put it up, and I thought, no, I'll just do a live, and then if anybody shows up, they show up. If not, then I just have say what I have to say here, and everybody can watch it later. But I got some more news about Jack, and he's backpedaling a bit. Oh, okay, that's good. Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Mine actually, I had to get uh a cap on it. Is it a cap? A crown. I had to get a crown. And that was and I didn't have coverage or anything. Um actually it was a fellow advocate that paid for it because she said, "We need you out there advocating, and if you have a broken tooth and you end up getting an infection or something, we can't afford to lose any of the of our advocates." So she was really nice. You should see me in a crowd. Hey, you know what, cat mama? I can make that happen. I can make that happen, cat mama. Um, so I thought I would come on here, Cat Mom, and talk a little bit about Jack and what's happening with him because there's been another setback. Uh, I don't know if you were here from the beginning and heard it, but he's his respiratory symptoms are worsening again, and he's got now his eyes are watery. And what else did Kayla say? I have to look at it again. She sent me a text. Um, she said mucus is back up, eyes are now weepy, fluids are soaking in faster, and his temp's a bit low. He's still stable and rolling around for belly rubs and cuddles, but definitely still not in the clear. So, and he goes to the vets tomorrow. So cross fingers that that's all going to be okay. But I just wanted to come on here and talk about this and talk about, really talk about the reality of rescue and how hard it is to save these cats, because so many of them do fall through the cracks because there's not enough rescues out there that can help. It's not that they're not willing to, it's just they don't have the resources to do it or the space to do it. And then you have the big, I call them the corporate charities, the big shelters that many of them are now partnering with Best Friends Animal Society, and their funding depends on them basically not bringing in cats, because if they bring in cats, then that's the highest population that gets euthanized. And if they want to get all that wonderful funding from Best Friends, they have to keep their save rate above, I think it's like 90% or something like that. And they can't do that if they're euthanizing animals, obviously. So that's a whole other video. And I definitely can do one of those because I'm not afraid to take on Best Friends Animal Society. I mean, because I'm seeing firsthand the damage that they cause. And this is kind of like across the board. So many of these programs, I know we had a program that came in here back in, this wasn't animal related, it was people related. It was called Ceasefire, and it was to stop gun violence. And all the community advocates were like, horrible program, do your research. Everywhere they've gone, they've caused just chaos and destruction, and they didn't help anything, and they didn't lower the numbers, and violence didn't go down, and just things just, there was a lot of money spent that there wasn't any real good return on it. They didn't want to listen. They did it anyway, and exactly what everyone said was going to happen happened. Kind of the same thing here. So I'm not afraid to speak out against these organizations, because they're harming it. When they harm the poor, vulnerable, and marginalized populations, that's when I'm going to have something to say about it. And I don't know if you heard Cat Mama, but I did make the comment that I had talked to Kayla back last year about helping Jack. And the problem was that he had to be in to be treated. And at that point, I had Valentino. So, that person that has caused problems for both you and I, it was because of her cat that Jack wasn't in. So, maybe they need to get their facts straight before they start coming at people and making disparaging comments about folks and pointing fingers and judging. Because for someone who claims to have never been a bully but have defended other people against bullying, I don't know, doing a pretty good job of pretending to be a bully. Just saying. So anyway, that didn't work out last year because I couldn't bring Jack in, and then I forget what happened after Valentino moved on. I don't know if Jack was around. I don't remember. Jack is a male. He's intact, and he would come and go. So that was another issue. And, like I told Kayla, this respiratory thing has been going on for a long time. I mean, it's been going on for a while, where it would be different severity levels. It would kind of die down, and then it would flare up, and then die down, and then flare up. And then there was one point where I saw him, and he looked really bad. His coat was rough. He was very thin. He was sneezing. He had the runny poops, and I don't even know what to do with this cat. And then complicating all of that was the fact that he was striking out at me. And I didn't know. I legitimately didn't know that was a cry for help. It wasn't that he was an aggressive cat. But I didn't know because I'm not experienced. And this is why we need to support our small rescues. I guess that's really the point of this video or this live stream, is to appeal to people to start really looking into the people that you support in your area. Maybe instead of supporting the huge corporate nonprofits that are getting huge amounts of funding from places like Best Friends Animal Society and very wealthy benefactors, and they get tons and tons of money thrown at them, and their administration is getting paid $100,000 a year. Maybe let's start focusing more on the small rescues like Feline Solutions. I mean, they're in my area. I don't know. I'm sure there's one in everybody's area that is there that either you know about or you don't know about it, but they're great. Raising money for a corporate nonprofit, a corporate charity, when they're already getting thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars thrown at them from, other corporations and animal welfare organizations with an agenda, and, just individual wealthy individuals that just wouldn't be able to say, well, I support my local SPCA and I go to the gala ball every year. Feline Solutions doesn't do a gala ball. Yeah, and see, see, I can put this up here. Put that up there. Yeah. So Cat Mama says, yes, I have helped a local family who works with rescues and is constantly finding homes for strays after they are spayed and neutered. And there are people like that everywhere. Some of them are able to get the nonprofit status. Other ones aren't. There are folks like myself that we don't have rescues. We can't have a rescue. I mean, even if I got a nonprofit, I couldn't do a rescue because I couldn't do it out of the apartment. I'd either have to do like a network of volunteers. I mean, it would just be a logistical nightmare to try to do it. There are people like myself that, okay, well, I can help some, but I can't help all. I can't. But if you partner with a local rescue, you can do some great things. But then you also have to be careful of, and this is kind of where I wanted to go with this live stream, because I was thinking about this before I got on and what I wanted to say. And, besides just talking about Jack and his issues and, what failed Jack? Why is Jack where he is now? And there's a lot of reasons why Jack is where he is now. A big part of that is the failing of our local SPCA, who should have taken him. I mean, they wouldn't even take poor Tora when he showed up with bloody paws. I mean, people that have been on the channel have seen Tora. Well, Tora is I call him my biggie boy. He looks grumpy, but he's the sweetest cat. He's just a big moosh, and he's not a fighter at all. He's a very gentle feline. He loves to be loved. And, if I ever had to move from here, I would definitely try to take him with me. But I had called them and asked them to help with him, and they said, no, we don't help the strays. I mean, that's what they said to me. Just like when I called them back in 2019 and talked to them about getting food for the colony. Yeah. Like your baby. Yeah. I had asked them I was asking about TNR, and even their TNR setup, they won't come out and help people with TNR unless you have, I think, 10 or more cats. So for someone and it doesn't even make sense, because for someone like me, I think I had 3. I think I just had the 3 females, because I don't think Rogue was there yet. So I had 3 cats. It would have been much more economically feasible for them to come out and take care of 3 cats than to wait till that colony expanded to over 10. It doesn't even make sense. And then they ask, they want to, if you don't have a trap, you can rent a trap from them, but it's $60. You have to put it on a credit card. I don't have a credit card. My credit was really, I had an eviction. I had other stuff going on in my life. My credit was trashed. It's only been within the last year or 2 that I've finally been able to get, well, right now I'm reestablishing my credit. So I had really good credit, went from really good credit to trash credit to now reestablishing it, but it's been a process. And they are not cognizant of people that have these barriers. There are a lot of people out there that get dinged for stuff that is beyond their control. They have a medical emergency. They have an eviction. They have something happens. Their life takes a turn in a direction they didn't expect, and suddenly they're screwed. And then they're punished again because they 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 had something happen to them that they had no control over. They couldn't offset it. And so now it's just insane. The system is just set up for failure the whole way around. But as far as getting a trap, okay, you have to have the credit card. It's $60 to rent the trap. Okay, great. Then what? So you get the trap, you trap the cat, then what? A lot of people around here now, I have a car. It's just I'm it needs some repair, so it's not really functional right now. But I do have a car, so I could potentially, get the car fixed and get the traps and everything. But what if you're someone that doesn't have any kind of any vehicle? There are a lot of people in this area. I mean, every morning, like 6 to 7 o'clock in the morning, I see people walking to the bus station. I see people walking to down to the store, to local stores or businesses down in the city where they're working. There are people that don't have cars that they work in the local government buildings or whatever. So there are people that don't have transportation. Okay, so now how do you get the cat in the trap to the SPCA without transportation? I somehow don't think that that would fly if you were standing at the bus stop with a very angry stray cat in a trap, hissing and growling and spitting and going on. Even if you have, a towel or something over it, you start coming on the bus and, you're walking, you go to put your ticket in and the cat's like, the bus driver's going to be like, what the hell? No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, ma'am. No feral cats allowed on this bus. Um, it's just, do you see the insanity of it? The whole system is not set up. And I have actually I mean, this was back in like 2020. I had this long email conversation with the vet that heads I don't know if she's still there, but back then she was the vet that headed the TNR clinic. And I told her, I said, look at all the barriers you have to access. If you have, and again, it goes back to, if you need to support the human, because the cat can't take its credit card, and cats have no thumbs. They can't work the phone. They can't get themselves into the trap. And then when they get in the trap, are they going to like hop, like just kind of scoot themselves down the road to the bus stop and hope that somebody it's insane. You have to have a human to take care of these cats. I mean, maybe in a cartoon that could happen, but in real life, no. The cats can't do it on their own. They need to have a human that supports them. So if the SPCA and these other big corporate charities aren't going to support the people that are supporting the cats, not going to happen. And I've also noticed, like, in these big corporate charities, the people that are like their expert trappers and TNR experts and whatever they want to call them, they're always people that are okay financially. They may not be, wealthy, but they're okay financially. It's generally not the poor people that are volunteering. It's they want the financially stable people. So that's, another issue. And then you have the issue of just knowing your limits with taking care of these cats, because that's another problem that happens. Is there's so many people that they start out wanting to do the right thing. They start out, okay, we're going to help the cats, we're going to try to rescue. And in the beginning, maybe, they have a couple, it's okay. They can figure out how to spay and neuter a couple of them. But then it starts to escalate. Because usually what happens is once somebody knows that you're caring for these cats, that's where the cats get dumped. It happens, well, it happens here in the city, but it happens in rural areas a lot more because it's, it's off the beat, and it's like here it's more noticeable if somebody stops and opens a car door and throws a cat out. I mean, there's cameras and stuff around. In the country, they can get away with that a little more. So, yeah, Cat Mom, I agree. I agree, and I want to talk about that a little bit. Cat Mama says, yes, my 4 are too much. I'm in tears often. Yeah. And I think this is, let me see her. Yeah, got it there. What Cat Mama makes a good point here that, this has happened a lot in my area in the city. We have people that start taking care of the cats and they feed them and they're trying to help, but they don't spay and neuter. And they're not spaying and neutering because there's too many. They can't take care of all of them. It's just enough trying to buy food, just trying to do like the basics for these cats, let alone spay and neutering, because it used to be $15. Now it's $20, which, still wasn't bad. I mean, it's $20, spay, neuter, ear tip, rabies shot. They used to do more. I think they used to give a distemper, and I think they used to give a revolution treatment and a distemper. So you used to get more for the $15. Hi, Mary. I don't know. We were supposed to I think it is kicking up. We were supposed to have high wind today too, but so far it's just kind of been off and on. I mean, I've seen a couple of things on my balcony blown over, and I just put them back up. It is cold though. It's like it's in the 30s today. So for April, that's, cold. But I mean, there's been situations. There was one situation here that there was an elderly couple and they were taking care of the cats, and there was so many of them. I think it just got out of hand. It got to the point where they called, who called what? Did somebody call the SPCA? I think somebody called the SPCA. And the SPCA, instead of trying to help them, what the SPCA did is the SPCA called Area on Aging and I think zoning. And the next thing, their house is being condemned and they're being put in a nursing home. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. Of course, it didn't hit the news, but, it was a lot of talk among the people that do TNR and rescue, because some of the people that do TNR were involved with trying to help them. And it just goes to show that was really not a good way to handle the situation. I mean, these people should have been helped way before it got out of hand. And I think this is, and by the way, before I go any further, I didn't put this up on the community tab yet, but I got an email from HAAS, the Human Animal Support Services. And this month is April is Animal Control Appreciation Month. So I don't know what they're going to do to celebrate it, but the second full week in April is Animal Control Appreciation Month. HAAS does a lot with animal control and trying to make them more, I'm just going to say trauma informed, because that's kind of what they may not call it that, but that's basically what they're trying to do, is they're trying to make it so that animal control, the old myth of animal control and the way animal control used to operate really isn't really applicable in a lot of places anymore. I mean, there might still be some places that are just not very caring, but most animal controls are they try to help people. But in this case, animal control wasn't called because animal control in our city, they don't deal with, well, not they, he, one man, he doesn't deal with cats, although he'd like to, because he used to be, I think, a field officer for like Alley Cat Allies or something. I mean, for one of those big ones, he used to be, I think, a field officer for one of them. So he very much would like to be involved in helping people with TNR and doing that, but his hands are tied because there's a contract between the city and the county that the SPCA deals with the cats. So, but going back to a cat mom is saying that 4 are too much, and I agree. I mean, I agree with her. I think people need to be, look, it kind of comes down to this. If you have so many cats that you cannot afford them, that you are constantly on social media looking for money from people, you're constantly on every platform you can find on Facebook that helps with the vet bills and things like that does crowdfunding. If you're on platforms like that, or you're constantly have your hand out saying, I need help with my cats. I need help with my cats. I don't have any money for my cats. I have a vet bill. Can you give me money for my cats? If you're constantly doing that, you probably have too many cats. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm really not. I'm just saying that to be honest and to be realistic about it. Because everybody can use help. And everybody, I mean, Cat Mama knows she has her cats. She's had all kinds of issues with her cats. But the thing is that you don't see Cat Mama accumulating more. She knows she's at her limit. She doesn't go out and adopt more. What she does is she tries to help other organizations that are helping the cats, which is a good way to do it. Yeah, you can. Well, yeah. Okay. We'll clear this up, Cat Mama. Just to be clear, she can afford them, but they all want constant attention. And yes, they thought carefully about my budget. Yes, but whoops. Okay. But what I'm trying to say is, you thought about your budget, Cat Mama, and you know that 4 is kind of your limit. However you want to look at it. Maybe you could afford more cats than that, but as far as the care and the time and the devotion and making sure that all of them get that interaction that they need, what your limits are. You're working, you have other things in your life, and you know what your limit is. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say is, we have to know what our limits are. I can go a little above what Cat Mama has because I'm on disability and I'm here pretty much 24/7. So if I was working the hours that Cat Mama works, what I have would be unmanageable. I can say that right now. And I don't have much more than what Cat Mama has. I have 5 indoor. So, and the other ones go in and out. The other ones are technically colony cats and they go in and out. But like Abra, I will get her because I can get her in a carrier. So she'll go, and we'll take her and get her rabies shot. And if she needs anything, I would make sure that she got it. But I'm talking about people that they just keep accumulating. And it gets to the point where they have, 20, 30, 40 cats or more. There's been colonies here that have been around 50 cats. And that's when things go horribly wrong. Now, there's also been colonies of 50 that are managed well, but that's because the people that are managing them are getting help. It's not just one person. It's a number of people helping with the colony. And they also have support from rescues like Feline Solutions. So if they have friendly cats, they can pull them and they can get them adopted. They can get the cats spayed and neutered. They have because they have a bunch of people that are all neighbors and kind of all looking after the cats together. That's a whole different situation. I'm talking about like one person, two people, because there's been situations. There was a situation where I think there was three. They were three elderly individuals. This was someone that I knew that trapped, and she was trying to help them. And that situation got way out of hand. They, unfortunately, one of the cats that they took to get spayed didn't make it through the spay. And that broke all trust that the woman had with the trapper. Because the trapper said, we'll just get him spayed, we'll bring him back to you. Well, that one didn't come back. And when that one didn't come back, it was like, no, you're not taking any more. There's a lot of mental illness involved that I see. It's untreated and undiagnosed, but you recognize it. There's a lot of trauma involved with people that are doing this rescue. And it's really hard sometimes to try to talk to people and to convince them that we're not going to hurt the cats. We just want to help you get them spayed and neutered. But as far as like Jack is concerned, when you have a cat like this and the resources aren't there. And I had a comment from one of my subscribers who is kind of in a similar situation. And I think she has, four. I think she said she has four. I think she has 4 or 5 cats that she rescued. And she's doing it on her own time and dime as well. Has to save up to get to the vet, to get to to get the cat spayed and neutered. And it's a difficult situation when you're trying to help, but you don't have a lot of money to help. And so the last thing that we need from anyone is for other people to be passing judgment, for other people to be pointing fingers and saying, you're a bad person because you left Jack outside. You're a bad person because, well, you could have done something for him. When I was doing something for him. I was doing what I could because it's all I could do. I didn't have the resources to do anything more for him. Jack shouldn't have been outside in the first place. Jack should have been in somewhere. And then to complicate it even more, I mean, and Cat Mama, I'm just going to, I'm going to put Cat Mama on the spot here and just, let everyone know how much she's helped with all of this process, because she should be recognized for that. I mean, it's not that she wants that recognition. I know she doesn't. I know she's not, she's not here right now wanting everyone to throw a parade for her or anything like that. But the fact of the matter is that she has done a lot for a lot of, not just myself, but for others too, that are in similar situations. And I think that should be appreciated, and that should be thanked. And there should be, there should be, again, the appreciation, the gratitude should be there. Because not everyone would do that. I mean, and there's a way to approach these situations. The way not to approach them is the way that two people approached it. You're welcome, Cat Mama. I had two people that said some really nasty things about me. Well, actually, three people that said some really nasty things about me, the way I was handling Jack's situation. One of those people had over 40 cats in her care that she was constantly putting her hand out for donations because there's no way in hell she could afford those many cats. They weren't getting what they needed. The products that she was using weren't even effective. The other one adopted from Feline Solutions, and that one Okay. Okay. I'm back up, I think. We had a power surge and the wind came up, I guess because of the wind, and I got kicked out. So, and I thought it stopped, but I guess not. So, is anyone on here? Because maybe what I'll do is just end this and come back in and just start fresh. Mary, Cat Mama, are you still here? Okay. I'm going to end this stream and I'm going to come back in and I'll put a community post. So I'm going to end it. I'll come back in.